Hey viewers, thanks for tuning in to another interview session with the lovely and talented cast of Fate Awakens. I am Joey Current, and we have dubbed these episodes Above Table. So you'll see that kind of as the title from now on going forward, because we talk about all things going on in-game and above table. I want to remind everyone that we are going to be talking about episodes 5 through 9, 6 through 9. So if you haven't watched episodes 6 through 9 yet, and you don't want to have anything spoiled, pause the video right now, go back, catch up on all those episodes, and then watch the interview if you don't want to have anything spoiled, okay? You've been warned. So, the last time we chatted, the party had just traveled from the small town of Ossirun, and where a tear in the sky had opened up and shadowy creatures kind of came out, and they attacked everybody. And so then you left to find answers and possibly warn other people about what's going on. And you went to the first place, the great city of Vethdion.
Yep.
So lots of things happened in this city, and I'm gonna get to what happens at the end, in a second. But first, I want to talk about, when we first get there, Jethro. We find out that
just a lot.
Jethro had a partner in crime. Who has been kind of keeping the good work going as you've been out of the city, spreading the good word. Talk to us about kind of how Jethro expected everything to go down, meeting up with his contact in the city.
So, and it's mentioned, I think at the end of 7 or 8, I have multiple accomplices. So, and the general gist of it is, I have people that I trust that travel with me, and they kind of know the spiel. Like, they know how to do the whole con artist thing. So I will leave them in cities as I travel and just kind of say, all right, everything I've been doing, like everything, like you do it now. So that the goal is, as they make money or they make wealth, they can send me that money, or I can come and like kind of make a withdrawal sort of issue.
Okay, so that was what
I
you were expecting.
I left one in Vethdion. There's also one, like I said, at the end of episode 7 or 8. There's one also in Parvis where we're headed. So the goal is that when I get there, they will have been doing the work, and that they will hopefully have either some money or some form of maybe more people that I can take. That's the goal.
Or you'll kill them.
As we saw, not what happened.
Right, so when you got there, that had not happened at all. You, in fact, were in debt and did not have very many followers.
Not in debt anymore.
Right.
I want to make that clear.
So the viewers out there all saw kind of a different, little bit darker side of Jethro in those moments. And so, folks at the table also saw that, although the characters may or may not have seen that happen. So was that an intentional choice? Like, was this something that was in the back of Jethro's mind all along? If things go south, that's my go-to, is just take this guy out and move on? Or was that in the moment you had to make a quick call?
It was very literally in the moment. I sort of, as we were having the conversation, me and the DM, like at the table, like when he was as Marlowe having the conversation with me, me the person was getting a little irritated with I put this kick because this was like a crucial point of my backstory, was that I would be going town to town trying to build a flock. So I put a lot of work when I was building the character into this sort of aspect. And so the DM is just it all went, it didn't work. It's not going to work. Whatever. So I, as the player, was a little irritated. And then also in character, I was Jethro is heated right now. Because I generally do things my own. I've got the spiel down pat. So trust somebody else, and then they go and colossally mess up.
Well, and he spent his money on whores.
Yeah. Only money. I showed up
his money on literal
but it was
whores.
every question, it got a little worse.
Oh yeah.
That's the way he's well, you said we had these, right? We're well, about that.
And in our negative sessions, I had left him with I think 2 or 3 gold, which technically was his gold, but that's beyond the point. So I left him with money, and he now has less money than I left him with. He is in debt, 600 and something.
Yeah, it was so ridiculous, yeah.
The only followers he has are prostitutes that he's paying. So, and when I made the comment I would like to follow him out back, my initial mindset at that point was, I'm going to tell him to leave city, I'm going to tell him to cut and run, I'll meet him in Parvis, we'll regather. And then just something like seemed right. Like I was sitting here, I was like, you know, it'd be great right now if I just killed him.
He said something else, and I don't remember what it was, but he said something, and I looked across the table, and your eyes were like.
It might have been that he bet against you.
He bet against.
He didn't know that.
Yeah, he didn't know, but he bet on Thunderfoot. And I think that was like, how could you make such a stupid decision? Like, you have ruined everything. You are useless. And
Like,
so
I think your hope for him in the future was now gone.
Yeah.
Like, he was only a liability.
And I mean, I've kind of been wanting to, you know, we do know, like, Jethro has some dark stuff going on. So I feel like it was a good moment, both in story and also above table, to sort of, this Jethro who's like the happy-go-lucky, like almost comedic relief, like, oh, there goes Jethro, like he's messing it up again, like, oh, he's running off at the mouth again. It's like, he just blew this dude's head off. No mercy. He is now a pile of cinder behind this bar.
I mean, and I don't know that, if I remember correctly, I'm not sure that anybody saw it happen, so it hasn't.
None of us know again.
It's
He
very
left
hard.
just
Right.
before.
Yeah. No
So
one's had
they
to
know.
square with the fact that you, like, you know,
It's
Which-
very difficult
kind of
to
flies off the handle.
stay, you know, to not meta. Like,
Right.
it's very hard to.
Oh yeah. I find it super funny that Dominic was like following him, just like almost mocking him, and then my mindset was like, I kind of looked at him and I was like, all right, he's just gonna tear this guy a new one. So I was like, I'll let him have it. So as soon as I left, I was like, he didn't need me there to do anything. Nothing else interesting is gonna happen. I'll need to be here for this, and I left happy. And then immediately that happened. So
Oh my god, as Jethro was
That was
getting
not-
more and more mad,
Yeah.
Dominic was getting more and more gleeful.
that was the best. Because
Like, oh yeah, this is
I was there in negative sessions. I hung out with Marlo for a little bit, and I didn't like him, obviously. I saw the other one too. I don't remember his name, but
Riley.
yeah. So I met them, and Dominic was like, "You people are sheep." Like, he's not saying anything, and like,
And he's mocking religion. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the whole thing. And you actually believe it and you have something there. And his is so disingenuous.
so I think when I heard the guy messed up so hard, Dominic was like, "What did you think was gonna happen? They're just people you picked up, and you lied to them, and now you're telling them to also lie, but they just not as convincing at it." Like, Dominic's like, "Yeah, and then some's just dessert." So Dominic left in a great mood, and
Yeah, and that theme, you know, we talked about it in the first interview, but that theme where we have a little bit of, like, you know, juxtaposition between the two men of the cloth, so to speak, it's continuing. It keeps on going. That has now not been really resolved, and we'll see if it happens.
we'll see.
So you guys get to the city. We find out that the governor doesn't really take appointments. You have to prove yourself, you know, in some way to be able to see him and get some words in with him. And so we see that we've got Drawl and Remdil and Arena entered into the fighting pits. So let's talk about the fighting pits. We I'll say Drawl and Remdil. Fans of the two of you have started calling you Remdrawl. And
Did not know that.
That's amazing.
yeah. So do you think that, so you guys started off with the first couple of fights, just the two of you guys. Do you think that those fights brought you guys closer together? We'll be seeing more team-ups with Remdrawl in the future?
I think definitely with the way Drawl kind of. Plus, Remdil isn't much of a speaker. Let's be honest here. Very short sentence, but like Drawl probably didn't know how to react to Remdil. He just yelling about whales and other things, and then all of a sudden he sees just a few glimpses of like the fighting that these two know about, but Drawl finally saw firsthand right in front of him. So I think the little bit of fighting trust.
Yeah, and for Drawl, I mean, he didn't really want to be there. He was there because no one else would do it, and he felt that sense of, you know, responsibility. Like, his dad just died. Like, he doesn't want to see anyone else he cares about die. Like, the other people, like Edmund was getting thrown in there, and that was at the point he was like, no,
Like
I'll do
obligation
it.
almost.
Yeah, so once the fighting started, I was looking to Remdil. I was just healing most of it, right? Like, oh my god, you're fine. Like, this worked, right? Like,
I don't think we would have made it without those couple heals you threw in there. And
Well, right.
I got hit hard.
Getting slashed and then having him touch you and the heel just go into a star or whatever, you know. I think what you were saying too is like my name was getting thrown around as far as combat in the arena, right? And it would definitely make sense from our whole backstory that Draw would be like, no. Like, Edmund's not going in there. You know what I mean?
Like, he's my other father figure.
Right.
So
The last one you got left.
Yeah,
you know,
that definitely wasn't happening. And then, you know, back to the question, it was great for Remdil to be able to take point in that situation. I was scared of the arena before I even knew what it was.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you say that because it's true. You did kind of play the traditional kind of druid role where you kind of stayed in the back and you healed and you threw stuff. But at one point, you like eviscerated a dude. I mean, you clawed him and tore him in half from the inside out.
I mean, Draw has this, you know, a visceral hunting side to him. I mean, he's a druid, but he grew up hunting. So he believes in that, you know, predator-prey lifestyle, and he has these, you know, predatory claws.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was going to say, I mean, now that you have this, I don't want to say like this beast inside of you or whatnot, but basically, I mean, is Draw afraid of what, you know, this is bringing out in him, or is it something that he's embracing and like, this is me now, I have these claws, I'm going to start.
He's definitely embracing magic as a whole. It's a healthy distraction, the magic and adventurous distraction from, you know, his dad dying, and, you know, these newfound friends and everything. So when the claws come out, I think it's almost instinctual for him more than it's, you know, him thinking.
Sure. Well, Arena, you had a fight against the former champion of the town, Thunderfoot.
Yes.
I think with a little bit of help from your friends, right, in the stands, you had some flashing lights and you had some little bit of guidance, I think, thrown in there.
Yeah, I never thought I would crit on a dancing lights attack. You know, like, super cool.
But you were able to take him down pretty easily.
Yeah.
Does that boost Arena's kind of confidence? Are you like, okay, if I can take on the champion of this large city, I can take on anyone? Or is it still like a kind of measured?
Not really. I would say that it's still more measured. Like, Arena definitely did not want the fight to have been to the death. Like, she had nothing against that dude. He seemed like just a regular person, but and I think that she was kind of saddened and a little bit angry that it had to go down that way, which led to you know, something that happened a little bit later that she was a little angry. So Arena has a big problem. I don't know if anyone's picked up on this, but Arena has a big problem with authority figures.
Sure.
Like a big one.
Yeah.
No.
You just.
So if the governor said that I had to kill him, like, okay, but, you know,
right.
This isn't going to end really well for you, pal. And it didn't.
It did, yeah. We'll talk about that in just a second. I want to mention one other thing, though. You now have the title of champion of Epheon on top of Monk from, I forget what the name of the monastery was.
Imeana of Bainmorin.
There you go. So this.
You remember that?
Wait, hold on.
So this list of titles is going to start hopefully maybe growing, and so you get to carry that with you kind of wherever you go. So just keep that.
If only.
Do like a Mother of Dragons vibe. The introduction's 5 minutes and everybody else is sitting there like, oh,
I need
wow.
the one thing we're missing is a bard to tell our tales.
That's right. That's right.
I got you.
That's Joey. He's our bard.
The last thing about the pits that I want to talk about is that you guys made a lot of money in the pits. I mean, you guys won hundreds of gold in these pits. Do you think this is a money-making thing you guys can continue to play off of in future cities? I mean, is this going to be kind of y'all's like, oh, we're running low on money, let's have another fight and win, or what?
That's sort of how I met these two in the negative sessions. I was just traveling and fighting. If magic, now that it's kind of out there and we know a rift opened in Parvis, like as long as, because that's where I met these two. If wait, no, that was before. I don't know, but it's as Magic opens, like, are these pits still going to be open? Are they going to be just kind of the basic fights I'm used to, or are they going to be more of what we just saw with the governor?
I imagine they'll be more fantastical.
With all the magic and everything.
Yeah, with magic involved, I mean, the crowd was going crazy the whole time.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I know you said you were a fighter and that's how you made your money. I don't know how prominent gladiator pits are in this world, because we know very little about the world as players. Like, this map here, burned at the edges, it shows our immediate area. You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna learn a lot about this world that we have no idea about.
Yeah, you are. All right, so we've hinted at it. We're going to talk a little bit about it. There's a conversation that you guys have before you go see the governor. So Arena is crowned champion. She gets a private dinner with the... Yeah, so she gets a private audience dinner with the governor. And right before kind of you guys decide to go see him, something is revealed about Rendell's backstory.
Love it.
And
Loved it.
Yikes.
we find out...
Loved every moment of it.
Yeah, we find out that Rendell has been given a job to kill the governor. And so then you guys it plays into this whole conversation about like, okay, well, are we going to take that opportunity or not? So I have a fun game for you guys. I have a bunch of quotes that a few folks at the table said in that conversation, and I'm going to say the quotes, and I want you guys to try to guess which character said them. Okay?
I almost got mad at that conversation.
All right. First quote.
Wait, we should all like write our answers down and like hold them up.
Either way.
I have a ton of note cards right there.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
We'll just do it secretly, like we all may have.
Okay. First quote. Make sure everybody's got their note card.
Are we grading our own tests? Because I'm getting 6 out of 6.
Sorry, students.
Gotcha.
Pass to the left.
All right.
I like
So
we made a mini game out of
there
it.
it is. The first quote is, I don't
Play
really-
along at home.
Yeah, play along at home. You have watched the episode and you want to think about this. Okay, first quote. I don't believe killing the leader of a town is necessarily what we're here for. That's quote number 1.
Okay.
Are we doing these just like
We
all-
should do them one at a time.
Okay.
We should do them. Everybody, hold up your answer.
I wrote
Keep the
really
camera
small.
on.
I
I did
That's
too.
fine. That's fine.
It's more for proof, right?
Yeah.
Who wrote down Edmund?
Edmund, for sure.
That's an Edmund line.
Oh, yeah.
I did not write that.
You said it!
I wrote down Dominic.
Yeah, that was an Edmund quote. Edmund said, I don't believe killing a leader of a town is necessarily what we're here for.
It was necessarily.
All right, quote number 2.
Yeah, I should have got that.
Quote number 2. I'm not sure why you got asked to kill him, but I don't like the guy very much. He tried to kill us.
Okay.
Oh,
Or let me know when you wrote your answer down.
I think so.
I think I got it.
Everybody got it written
I
down?
have this one.
That was from Drawl.
Yep.
What?
Really? I wrote draw.
Rendell.
Good job.
Am I the
Points for
only one
Drawl.
that
If you wrote
picked
Drawl down, that was Drawl.
I know that's why I wanted to kill him. Because like he made me feel like prey, and I did not like him.
Oh my
Yeah.
And then when I got put in the
distinctly
position
remember
of
that,
being
like,
a
as soon as
predator,
we-
I was like, okay, now I'm on board.
As soon as we ended our first fight, and he said, "Do you guys want a second one?" Okay, archers.
Yeah, it was a
We
fight.
were just like,
one.
wait, we'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fight again or be killed.
Yeah.
Which you made a lot of money off of, so that's something. But all right, quote number 3.
The illusion of choice.
That's
Right?
right. That's right. Quote number 3. This isn't a conversation we're even having. We have something to do here.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
I remember that.
I do not remember this.
I do remember
Let
that.
me know when you got your answer written down.
Oh wait, no.
This
I'm
isn't even a conversation we're having. We have
Okay.
something to do here. So if you wrote down Dominic,
Yes.
I put a rename and I changed it.
I put
Oh no, I was
I was between.
I remember you saying that because you were agreeing with me.
Yeah.
That was like probably right after I said what I said. You were like, we're not even having this discussion because we were kind of the moral compasses at that point, right? We were like, hell no, we're not doing
No.
this.
So remember at home,
The
you
only
think
one I
we're
got-
metagaming? We have a very bad short-term memory.
I want to
this alone is
interject
proof.
briefly.
Yeah.
So you see in our campaign when something is revealed, everyone leaves the room. Well, in our negative sessions, we didn't do that. So when he was given the job to kill the governor, we were both in
did
the
know
room.
that.
yeah.
So we had to pretend this entire time that you want to kill the governor? What?
The worst part was we knew we were on a time limit the whole time, so we're like, tra-la-la-la, no big deal, and we're like,
The whole time we're
running out of time.
Jethro and Dominic have no clue, but we know that if we don't handle this, bad things are gonna
yeah, it
happen.
was rough.
Side note: we had 9 days.
Yeah.
We have 9 days left.
Good job,
You're right,
guys.
love. All right, I have a couple more. I want to get through these. This one may or may not be easy, depending on how recently you watched the video. I don't think this is an opportunity you can quite turn down.
Maybe.
Everybody got an answer?
Sorry,
No.
sorry
If you-
for that noise, everyone.
You wrote down Jethro.
What?
You are correct.
Think about him, baby. Think about him.
You said it.
No, that was all you. That was all you.
Because Arena was against it.
I think the first moment someone like
Against what?
rejected the
Killing the
idea,
governor?
we were like,
Yeah.
I don't think
Oh,
this is
I
the idea that you can
Again, short-term memory.
I was cutthroat.
You just killed someone.
All right, I have a few more, and then we'll go into kind of the conversation.
Okay. Sure.
So,
This is fun.
I
like this.
All right, the quote is, "I don't think the group wants to do it."
I don't think the group wants to do it.
This is kind of telling, right? So different characters are having different kind of reactions to
Okay.
this dilemma. All right, so if you wrote down Rendell,
Yes,
Remdel.
yes,
yep.
yes.
Even though it was
yes,
his job, he was willing to kind of go along with what everybody else said.
Well, it didn't really
to do.
seem like he wanted to do it. It was more of a.
I mean, it took forever to tell. I didn't know how to approach it. So yeah.
It's not,
think
it's
the
not-
timing was good.
We were well into the town before you told us. You know?
The only reason that Remdo wanted to say it is that he forced me to decide whether or not to die alongside Draw or fight again. Remdo will always fight
We're
again.
like, now,
but
like,
Draw
oh.
was like, I don't know if I want to do this.
So you turned into a guy who was like, wait a second, you're making me want to kill you more.
Yeah.
He didn't even know.
He
He was
forced
kind
my
of putting a
hand a
death
little.
sentence on himself doing that.
Right.
Yeah. All right, last one. I would have no regrets if we killed him.
If we're playing by the rules here.
Yeah, if you want to use process of elimination, the answer is Arena.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember saying that.
No regrets.
Like 4 times.
No regrets.
All right, 6 out of 6. You guys?
I went 5.
I got 4.
I went 3.
I got 7 out of 6.
I didn't pick Arena.
I got
That's
this.
what-
Oh, actually, I got 5. I put an X next to Dominic, but I got all
Nice.
right.
So the three
Very
kind of
poorly.
big arguments that got brought up, and this happens, I mean, I'm sure at a lot of people's D&D tables, right? I mean, you're faced with a choice about, are we going to just murder this guy because we can, because that's how the game works? We can just do that if we want to, or are we going to kind of, play into morality and your character's backstory and kind of any beef that you have? So argument one, he's a bad dude. And we should just kill bad dudes. And he's not helping his town any, and maybe we should just kill him. Number two, this is kind of where the conversation went, so I'm just going to cover this real quick. Number two, what happens if they come for Rimdil if he doesn't do this task, right? He's our friend, we want to take care of him. And then the third kind of thing that you guys kind of ended up on was this kind of bigger argument about, like, listen, if he's not willing to listen to this warning about these people, he's not being a good governor, and we are here to warn people about what's going on, we might need to replace him and figure out how to give these people a new leader, right? So that's kind of where you guys went with everything.
Didn't help with the leader part.
Yeah, it did not help with the leader part. Do you guys remember that conversation and have any? I mean, I know there was arguments on both sides, right? I mean, Edmund at one point even says, and I have the quote here. He says, basically, bad guys in the current climate of magic in the world, we may have to be quite reliant on bad men. Bad men may very well become our allies, right? So
Put that shit in the book.
yeah.
Oh my
So there's
God.
arguments on both sides of this. What do you guys remember about that conversation in your characters' minds as you're
Okay.
planning to go to the dinner?
I did forget that quote, but I mean, it does make sense in this world, right? Like, bad people are going to get magic. If it's the lesser of two evils, which I think is what I was going for, like, okay, a bad guy with magic who's human, or elvish or dwarvish or whatever, or half-elf, goddammit,
Thanks.
versus shadow demon thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if we have to draw the line, we're gonna pick the bad guy to be our friend, not the shadow demon, right? So that was kind of my thought. But I don't think going into the dinner, any of us knew whether we were gonna kill him or not.
Well, we set a situation, right? So we said if he's not willing to help, then we're gonna have to kill him. I mean, all positives led to that action. I mean, he wasn't helping the town. Our friend was in trouble, and we didn't like him.
Yeah, but there was arguments made that Remdil could just go give the money back and say, I don't want to take this job.
Oh yeah.
Right. And then it was also kind of said that like we don't have to.
We don't have a replacement.
We don't have
for him.
anybody to replace him with.
Which
We
is
can't
still
just
an
leave
issue.
this town stranded without any leadership.
Which
Yeah,
we
so
did.
Kind of did.
I also want to like throw out there like Jethro's not a good guy. So like the bad people, like I have not done a single good thing like in this campaign. If you think about it, I mean, I help the kids, but whatever. But like even in the negative sections, like I'm not a good guy. I literally make my living lying to people, stealing. Like I killed somebody in cold blood. So like when he says we may have to ally with bad people, I'm like,
You already did.
No, you're living it.
so like I mean that was like the fact he was a bad guy like never crossed Jethro's mind. Jethro was just like, we gotta kill him. We get money. We've already been paid because we've seen in the next we saw him like he went to this meeting and then comes back like all decked out, like he's got tons of gold now.
Yeah, you
So-
wore my fancy jacket.
Yeah, his fancy jacket is the one I wore to like hide myself before I got the buzz cut. So in Jethro's mind, it's we got a job. Like let's just let's do it. Like this is what we got to do. Like because to me or to Jethro, good and evil, it's whatever.
sure.
If he's a bad guy, we kill him. If he needs to die, we kill him. Like it does. And I'm above table. This is very above table. Like because we obviously, like I said, we knew about it since like way back. We I fully expected them to be very resistant. I fully expected it to be me having to back up Remdil and be like, no, like maybe he does deserve to die. And then them just being like, no. And so I was wondering how they would react because they kind of, as far as I knew about their characters, like they're good people. They kind of they welcome us in. Like they're good people. They would not want to kill this governor. So immediately he's like, oh, I gotta kill the governor. I was like, okay, when? Like, let's do it. Because I thought, as me and as Jethro, like, I'm the only backup he's got. Dominic's not going along with this. These three are definitely not. And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. And then again, going into the dinner, I was like, all right, I guess like maybe I'll just blast him. Like, how am I gonna do this? Because no one's gonna be wanting to pull the trigger. And then I'm sitting at the table, and then he wraps him in vines. Rena just like snaps his like punches him in the throat, and then Rebel like snaps. I'm like, oh, we're going there. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna sit at this table and continue eating this ham.
Yeah, I was, Irene was pretty confident walking into the dinner that she was gonna end up helping or killing the governor, which is part of, her issues with tyrants and authority figures, and if we keep meeting those, it's gonna have a similar pattern. But big issue with tyrannical figures, because of background, like historical stuff at the monastery. The guy in charge was like pretty much a tyrant. And I was like, okay, but me on the inside, I was like, all right, well, she's like not a bad person, so I guess, we'll see how it goes. And above table, I was like, I know that this is not going to go well. Like, I know that this dude is going to suck. And he did. So Irene felt zero guilt in punching the dude in the throat so hard that he coughed up half a lung.
I will say, as far as Dominic goes, my quote that we did, it was something like this in the conversation we're even having. I think I was with you. I was like, we're not even talking about this. We can't just kill a person. That's just not a thing that happens. You know, there's ways to go about things. And I very much believe that. And I don't remember exactly what the conversation was. It would have had to have been during the dinner.
It was, yeah.
But something Edmund said. I specifically remember something Edmund said that was like, just kind of flipped the switch. And Dominic said, I was like, oh, maybe this isn't like such a black and white situation. You know, life is sacred and all that, but it's this one dude versus potentially all these other people. And I had no intention of killing anyone that entire time. Until it, like, you can kind of tell during that scene, the mood just kind of got darker and darker and darker, and we're like, you should really listen to us. And she was like, no, you should really listen to us. And I was like, why am I not disagreeing with this? It's weird that it's starting to sound like the correct thing. So Dominic just kind of said nothing, and he just watched, and there was a little bit of like, is this necessary? I think it is. All right, well, and he just let it happen. And I wish I could remember exactly what it was you said. Well, I specifically remember you saying
I remember, and I don't know if this is the exact one we were talking about, but I remember asking the governor, what about your people? If this comes here, what are you going to do for your people? And he said something along the lines of basically,
they don't mean anything
like,
to me.
the people don't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
I'm the leader, you know? And at that point, you know, I'm just like, I look at Arena and Drawl, and everybody kind of looks at each other like, well, dude, you're not doing yourself any favors.
This was code word tomato at that point.
Yeah.
Code word tomato.
Oh my god.
Well, man, the vines are already coming up. That's not like, dude, my dad died because of these things, and you don't care?
Yeah.
Right, like, you're a bad leader.
Yeah, because you were
when you said like I think like the exact line was something to the tune of like, if you're not going to help your people, we're gonna have to do something. And it was like when you said that, when you were like, I would like to get entanglement. And it was just like, okay, well, it's party time, boys.
It's going down.
Like, you have a responsibility to your people. And he's like, I'm responsible to myself in this dinner, you know, or some shit. You're like, really?
Well, I mean, and you all were over 2 at that point, right? Because you didn't find out any information. They didn't have any libraries, right? So you couldn't like research anything. And then the governor who you were supposed to either try to learn stuff from or help you warn the people was not listening.
Had nothing for us.
Right. So you were like, all right, what else do we have? We have this. We could get money off of this, and we could replace this governor, or at least help the people out. So. Things happened very quickly, as you guys kind of already described, right? So you mentioned the rifts. He doesn't believe you. Try to get him to think about his people. He doesn't care about his people. You try to threaten him. Drawl literally wraps him up in vines, and he doesn't even notice or care. And so at that point, there's a punch to the throat and a snap of the
By
neck.
the time you noticed, it was
over.
Arena, his fist was in there.
So, you know, you had to ask the question that I'm sure every D&D table has had to ask: where can we hide the body? At that point, and you're looking around. It's the pantry.
I think we initially were going under the table.
It's like, how long are the tablecloth?
How long do you think it took them to find that?
Right. So you're looting the body. You found a signet ring, which hopefully will come in handy later. I think, maybe, perhaps. And,
Prestidigitation of blood.
That's right.
You know, clean
up
up
blood.
your mess.
And the ring did already sort of come in handy. We held it up to the crowd.
Well, I mean, we admitted we killed him 5 minutes after we did it.
Right. Well, you told the guard he's fine. He's up in his room, and then you walked past the guard, and then you had a masterful speech to the crowd, basically telling them exactly what had happened.
Would be proud.
Off the cuff.
All off the cuff.
Fantastic.
What was happening, what they needed to be afraid of, what magic could do, and
what not to be afraid
and what not to
as
be
well.
afraid of. It was all off the cuff.
100%.
You didn't have any thoughts about what you were going to say to the people when you got there?
Nope. When it was like, who should talk? I was like, You're good at talking, but not in a way that's helpful.
That's the most accurate statement ever.
It was funny because it was like, Dominic, you have thaumaturgy. You can speak really loud. And I was like, yes, I do. And he's like, well, do it. And I was like,
No.
I'll help
Cast
you
it
on me.
I,
So I just went with, all right, what's gonna scare them enough to make it believable, give them hope, and give them an actual plan, right? What to do next. So, scared them with the shadows, personal reference.
And we were shooting fire.
Show that we're not lying, right? I'm not asking you on faith alone, right? Like, here is magic that you've never seen before. We're gonna try to stop it. You just saw us do shit you've never seen anyone do before, and guess what? We're on your side.
And we're your 3 champions
And-
of this whole town's arena.
Right,
You know,
the arena you watched, and here's where you should go. Like, here is an escape plan. You know, we're not like, hey, this shit's coming. Be scared. See you later. We're leaving.
Hide in
So-
your tables.
And whether it actually resonates with any of them, we have no idea.
did the best we can.
I think I did end up rolling okay for the couple times, he made me roll. The information from a young kid who was from Parvis was interesting as well.
Yeah, we're getting into next steps territory there. But you're
Right.
right. You found out that there was a kid from Parvis who was saying that there was another tear. So now not only are you saying, hey, there's something behind us coming this way, there's something on either side of you guys.
There's something in front of us,
and
too,
you
right?
are in the middle of all
Sandwiched.
this, right? So that was very interesting. You met 2 people towards the end of that conversation. Your son showed up. Edmund, your son showed up, also named Edmund.
The 17th?
And the 17th. And he relays basically that folks in Ossirin are good. Not, if you don't go out at night, you're okay.
Right.
Which is probably not, the best place to leave them. So you encourage them to also evacuate.
Yeah, to the Settlers Point, which is the only harbor I see on the map, but I figure if you can get farther away, do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was seeing your son just popping up out of nowhere a surprise?
It was, because we haven't really touched on him too much. We've touched on Tybalt, who's the second youngest, right? The firstborn is the next Edmund, and then if you have more than one kid, you can't just name them again, So that was, I think, the first time in the film sessions Edmund has ever come up, my son.
Yeah, because Tybalt is the learned one who helps you with the books.
He's the one who travels the world, collects books, adds to the library, all that. Yeah. And Edmund, has a family in Ossirin, has helped me with the library, will inherit the library, and continue on the legacy, right?
It seemed like Tybalt was more of the adventurer, and Edmund was more of the scholar.
Right. So him showing up even this far away from Ossirin is probably the farthest he's gone. But him having him as an emissary, at least continuity-wise, to tie us to the safety of Ossirin, right? Like, why aren't our characters going back to go save everyone, right? Okay, we have a story hook and the character that can do that for us to suspend the disbelief of the viewers, right? You know what I mean? Like, why aren't they going back? They would definitely go back.
And we gave him a bunch of resources. I think I gave him 300 gold or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're ready to move out.
And then you met a lady who with some bright red hair, who some folks had met before.
Lovely
And
Miss Ruby.
Not only Miss Ruby of the Ruby Mercenaries, who
With the
gives
ruby
you
knife.
a ruby knife and a ruby coin.
It's a theme.
It's a theme, I think. Who has ruby red hair,
theme.
blonde
Not
hair, blue
subtle.
eyes, and she, she appears with a knife to your throat to repay you for doing this deed, right? So,
Lovely woman.
did you expect her to just pop up right as soon as the deed was
Absolutely
done?
not.
Okay.
No.
So what was going through? What? Walk me through kind of.
So the first thought in Rimdale was, oh crap, I have to sit down for another dinner. And then the second thought was, I'm gonna die here. Like she said, if I don't complete this task, which is, I felt like I just did. But Rimdale, on the other hand, is just like, well, there's a knife to my neck. Like, this is all I care about. Please don't do this. and then she started talking and dropped a large bag of gold at my feet. So
Yeah, very powerful. It seems you guys, spoke to her a little bit, and it was revealed that her folks in the Mercenary Assassins Guild some of them have also been imbued with these magical powers. So definitely a group to keep in mind. Are still out there in the world, and in fact, they dropped some information about some possible cause of these tears, right? So the theory was that these pillars must be messed up in some way, and we have to go into the desert to find another set of pillars to figure out what's wrong with them. Now all of a sudden there's another tear in another town where one of Edmund's orphans, we think, matching the description of one of your orphans, just happened to have also been there, and then these mercenaries have made the connection for you.
Right.
That's a bomb. I mean, that changes everything.
Well, yeah, the information dump and the gold dump happen at the same time, and it's kind of a bittersweet moment. You're like, oh, wait, here's all this gold. Also, someone who you've raised could be the cause of all this. And Razim, in the negative sessions, was a more troublesome one. He was the oldest of the orphans as well. Liked to go on his own, very independent, but not a bad kid in any of the negative sessions. You know, he still helped with dinner. He still, took care of the other orphans even. So it puts it in a very weird place to hear he's being hunted by this mercenary guild because he's seemingly the cause of this bad shit. Now, putting that kind of moral conundrum in front of us, we're like, okay, someone I've loved and raised is bad.
Allegedly.
Well, or at the very least, out of control, right? Like, I'm not 100% confident knowing him my whole life that he's doing this on purpose. And we all know from stuff that the DM said that, they can teleport people places, right? Like the Mercenary Guild. So it doesn't appear that everyone in this world started out at level 1. You know what I mean? Like, there's evidence of the 3 days since our first rift open, or, whatever the time was to travel to Vaftion, like 8 days. In the 8 days since this has happened, there are presumably level 8 wizards who can teleport people. You know what I mean? Like, there's not an even playing field. And showing that kind of magic inconsistency in the world could very well mean Razim is able to do these things.
Yeah, you learned so many things. Yeah, you learned it's not just one place, it's multiple places. You learned that magic is, like you said, inconsistent. Some people are having way more than others. That is going to be, that changes the game a little bit.
Well, and the timing too, it's like, it's right after we discover and decide the governor is a bad guy and he's doing bad things, so we're going to kill him. And then it's kind of like, Razim is possibly causing all of these horrible things to happen. And the assassins are after him, but
trying to kill him with the same thought that we just had for the governor.
It's hard to justify their actions.
But we know him, so we don't necessarily want that to happen, but also, possibly what Razim is causing is significantly worse. So it's putting us all in a huge moral conundrum right now. But
what were you about to say, Dominic? I feel like you had something.
This is just a thought. Did the Ruby ever explicitly say that they had just recently received these magic powers, or are we just assuming that?
I think that's the assumption.
Yeah, I think
that's the assumption.
Yeah.
We didn't ask.
I mean, she sent.
They were scary beforehand.
The way I see it,
it just seems.
I think we did ask, but it was very. The response was very vague.
What are the odds that maybe they could have had some magic to start with?
Well, it doesn't change things.
I would imagine that for them to hire a random fighter to do their job, they haven't had magic previously.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Like somebody who has magic teleporting assassins at their
really
disposal.
good.
You were level 0, bud. And I killed 2 people. You killed him with like a club or something.
Well,
You also ran from
plausible.
raccoons.
We didn't run from raccoons. The raccoons took our stuff.
We were chasing it, you know.
We got bamboozled.
So they got away from you.
Yes. We were defeated by raccoons.
Much better story. We were scared.
So now you guys are now traveling to the other area where a rift occurred in hopes of maybe finding more information, maybe finding Razine, maybe talking to him and finding out if it's something out of his control or not. You had a lot of time to think about this moral dilemma that you had on your travels, and you met some folks along the way in some small towns, and were able to kind of once again kind of re-explore this concept that you guys now have new magic powers that you're trying to still figure out and still figure out how you're going to use them for yourselves, but then also how you show them to other people when they see things or when they ask about them, because it's still, the DM is still showing you guys that, you know, average folks are amazed by these things that you can do. So we're in, like, you know, phase 2 now of figuring out your powers. We've got a cool like scene of Edmund and Drawl kind of using their powers to help with the campsites, which was very cool. And then, you know, folks trying to do some tricks and almost burning down the tavern. So,
Like, for no reason.
this is a continuing theme. Are you guys excited about the more magic that you guys are learning? Is that something that's fun to roleplay for you guys as well?
Magic users.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of living in a world where you have no foundation, right? Like, in a typical D&D campaign, a wizard would just go read other wizards' books. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I've definitely know magic exists. Every big city has one that handles all their shit. Oh wait, I'm essentially, for 800 years or whatever, the first wizard. You know what I mean? And so I do like that the DM threw in, it was a kind of offhanded line, but, you know, as you're taking watch, you flip to the next couple pages of your book and it's fuzzy. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, at least I have a source to gain more magic, right? And a lot of a wizard's strength in a regular D&D campaign where magic already exists is you find scrolls and you copy them down, right? Like, you're learning magic through other people's work. And in this, I mean, I have my book, but, you know, I'm not going to find a scroll of fireball and write it down in my book. You know what I mean? Like, presumably, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
Because that doesn't exist in this world.
Sure.
Most of my magic comes from feelings and emotions. So it's, as he has that difficulty of, you know, not being able to find scrolls and just sort of learn spells as a wizard. A lot of our classes have, you know, the classic, you have to prepare spells every day.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting thinking about how to implement the fact that you could do something one day and not the next. And you can now do something new, and kind of switch that around whenever you want. So I think a lot of that for Drawl comes from this, like, feeling of energy of something he needs to do, and it's almost his own body telling him, you know, I can do this, listen to it, so try. So, you know, what you were mentioning, kind of building the fire, he knew he wanted to build this fire, but didn't really want to go in the woods and do it. And all of a sudden, all these spirit ants came out and started doing it for him. And he's like, well, I don't hate that, you know? Like, so I think he'll have fun with the convenience of it, and it's still just a distraction from everything going on.
Very cool.
I think it's pretty interesting because you prepare, I also prepare. Just the difference in the way we do that, he's very much feelings, and it's like, I could use some animals today, and it just happens. How many spells have you, like, switched up, like, changed? A couple? 2 or 3?
A good bit, yeah.
Dominic's been on the same spell list since he started. And Dominic's, I think he's very much like, I need to know how much of this responsibility I've been given all the way. I want to feel everything out before I even attempt to ask for more. So I think he's gonna be a very slow burn until like some RP thing happens where a light comes and maybe I hear a voice or maybe we'll do something with it. But I'm just gonna be on the same level for a while until something considerable happens to open my mind. I don't think he's ready to like start looking at anything else.
Yeah.
I think he's only on like 3 or 4 spells.
Yeah.
It's very fun for us to explore the idea that we're just getting new things.
Yeah.
But above table, I mean, we're self-nerfing ourselves.
A lot.
We're looking at the spell list like, it'd be really convenient for this, like, I'm gonna take that. But we haven't learned that yet.
Yeah.
Bro, I just want to be like guiding bolting people like take 4d6, take 4d6.
I mean, for my character, like, he just can't turn it off. Like, it doesn't turn off. Like, I've been doing the same shtick for years.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm just gonna keep doing it, just throwing some magic. Like, I have friends as a cantrip. My class ability already does friends for me. But my guy's still like, I'm just gonna use some magic for this.
It's like all downside.
I don't need friends at all. Like, my class ability is already, I get advantage on charisma checks.
You don't need the spell friends.
Yeah, I don't need the spell friends. Friends
I'll need you guys.
still up for debate. But like, so it's like my character, like, he now is like, I got power, I'm gonna use it, even though it's both in game and above table. Like, it's useless. It's a redundant cantrip. My character's still like, I'm gonna abuse this as much as possible.
But it's
like,
completely fitting.
yeah,
Right.
it's like Jethro himself is like, I can use magic for this. Like, I don't need to, but I'm going to.
Yeah.
But he doesn't even know
Yeah.
he doesn't need to, right? Like, he's like, oh, I'll interject this, and I feel like I'm doing better. But really, your class was doing that the whole time. That's all up here.
Yeah.
That's what we fucking know. You know what I mean?
And I think the common theme of that is that we are not going to play optimally. We're going to play for fun and for our thematic backgrounds and characters and what's happening in the present.
Yeah, so for viewers out there who are watching battles and you're like, oh man, I would have totally used this spell in this situation instead, you might not see it because folks, here at Fate Awakens are going to be trying to play this very, very much to kind of how their character would do things and what they have learned so far. So hopefully, and even with the fighters, even with folks who don't have magic, it's going to be really cool when you can start having abilities that you didn't know you had before.
No idea how I'm going to figure out key.
Yeah.
No idea
yeah,
how I'm
yeah.
going to figure out key points.
It'll be fun to watch.
A lot of us still have spells on our list that we haven't even touched yet. Like, I still have Hellish Rebuke and Inflict Wound, which would have helped a lot, but Jethro doesn't know that.
The idea of this with later levels is interesting, and I don't know that we have an answer yet.
Yeah,
It'll be
no.
fun to watch as it all happens.
One thing that I think helps is I have a book that says exactly
You have
what
to get out of
happened.
jail free card.
So I know we did this a lot in the early sessions, right when we figured out magic. I'm like, oh, look, this spell says something about fire, and I do it. And then Draw's like, I wonder if I can do that. You know what I mean? Like, so if I can kind of introduce spells because they're written down for me, you know what I mean? I don't have to do it based on feeling, like you were saying. That's a downside when it comes to what we're talking about scrolls, but an upside for the other characters who see me cast Identifier, Unseen Servant, Mage Armor, like if he wants to Shield later or Shield of Faith maybe, you know what I mean? Like if they want to see something done, I can do it, and then they can try to copy it with whatever their shtick is, right?
Yeah, that's one way. I think that it'll be really cool to have you in that kind of teacher role or mentor role. But other times it will just be a feeling that comes up for folks.
Well, and it should be both, right?
Yeah.
Like to make it so straightforward would be boring to watch, right?
Right. We've had some discussions in game between different characters. I think Edmund brings this up a lot, but it's definitely come up in various conversations about this whole concept of you were one way before and you're different now. So the things that you were worried about before, the promises you made in the past, the way you looked at the world has completely changed moving forward. There has been a shift in the way that you guys are going to have to look at things and evaluate kind of what you do moving forward. What does that feel like, as your characters are having to kind of wrestle with this fact that, like, and some characters it may not, be such a big shift. You may be continuing to do the things in the way that you did before, but there's definitely, there was a then and there's a now, and things are different. And how does that resonate with you guys?
For Draw, it's pretty straightforward. He lost his innocence in the world. He very quickly learned that it's kill or be killed. He's been watched that situation happen to other people, obviously. And most recently, he was put in that situation, and that's definitely affecting his mindset. And it's gonna continue to affect the character.
Yeah, and the viewers didn't see this, but in the pre-sessions we did, Droll was a lot more happy-go-lucky. Like, he's still that moment of comedic relief every now and then, but he has tended a bit more serious in the film sessions since his dad's death.
Yeah. I mean, Edmund even mentioned in his speech, this could be a blessing, this could be a curse. Whatever has happened has changed things. Do you guys see it as more of a blessing or more of a curse or more of a responsibility or just this cool thing that happened and I'm just going to roll with it and figure it out later?
I think it's a little of everything, and it's kind of yet to be seen.
Sure.
You know, it just happened.
There's a quote, I don't remember who it's from, but it's like some have greatness and some have it thrust upon them, right? Like, we're all in the set of thrust upon them. You know what I mean? I know Edmund probably, you're talking about the difference, the flip of the world. For me, and I think we should do this with everyone too. The difference for Edmund is, I mean, I've lived in this town 98% of my life, right? I've taken a role, I've loved it. It's in my blood, literally, you know? Not being an Ossiarune, I'm sure, is causing him a lot of stress. But he is very focused, right? He feels like he knows what needs to be done. But I think in the coming sessions, especially if we encounter Razim again, we might see that coin drop for Edmund, how we saw it for Droll when his dad died. Like, Edmund's probably coming pretty close to a breakdown here, right? He's holding it together well, probably for Droll, for Rene. But I think he's going to have to come to Jesus moment with himself here in the upcoming sessions soon.
And I think we all, this is kind of, I just thought of, like, we all have had a leadership role at some point. Like, Edmund has taken the lead plenty of times. You know, Remdil, there's been times, like, when it came to the fighting pits, Remdil was all over it. You know, when it came to, like, all right, guys, what are we going to leave? Are we going to stay? Like, Edmund was all over it. Like, we've all had our moments of leadership, and I feel like it's a good thing that there is no one group leader, because if, like, right now, Edmund's kind of, he's taken over the party in terms of, like, let's go, we need to go to Parvis and handle things.
He's a wise dude.
If he has his breakdown and we have our full faith in him as a leader, we're done. So I think it's good that each of us kind of has these strengths where when it comes time, when one of us falls, the other ones are like, all right, someone else step in, someone take over, let's get things set straight. I think that's the big strength we have as a group is we don't have a leader per se. It's just who's the expert right now, right? We were in the monastery, Rene was all over it. She was like, here's the weapons, go get the weapons, here's where you guys can stay, I'm gonna go talk to the leader, like, hey, what can we do, what can we get, you know? Everyone has had their moments to, like, shine, so to speak. And I think that's the big thing with our party is we have our we can lean on each other, we know that. Even though our characters might not trust each other, you know, someone's got some issues, but it's okay, she'll get through them. You know, it's we all have something to rely on the others with.
What do you guys think your like changes? You know,
I was gonna say that I think for Rene, it's learning that because the worst person in the world for her was the head monk of the monastery, and to kind of find out that there are worse people than that.
Much worse.
I think for her, it's gonna really, really blur the line of moral obligation, I guess, because I think that I had originally intended for her to be like kind of a moral compass, but that feels like it's deteriorating a lot. Like the more bad people and worse people Irene meets, the more she's like, I have to do something about this because I didn't do anything about it before. So it's really weird.
As the other non-magic player here, so fighting is what I did in the negative sessions. It's how they met me. Now that I can fight better or hit harder, and then I think the moment Rimdale knew it was real, he may take a little bit to catch on, was sparring Arena. And we're going to jump back a little bit, but the moment she hit me, I was like, oh well, crap, that was like half my hit points. That's probably the hardest I've been hit, and when I hit her, she didn't go down. I was like, oh, well, shoot. So we've grown a little bit.
So you've been humbled.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I killed 2 people in front of them, and then...
You killed 3 in front of me.
Well, I helped you with the 1.
Oh, yeah, I guess I killed 1 too.
So, like, it's just... For Rimdale, it's just like, there's still so much I can learn, and I just assumed I would fight kind of regular people as it was going on. So, as just a fighter class, it's like, what's next? What can I do? And it's going to be interesting playing out multiple attacks when I'm just used to just like, hey, I'm going to hit you. I'm going to punch you real hard.
Yeah.
Oh, I can do more?
But, it seems like the shift in Remdal's, lens in the world essentially now is that, things are a lot bigger and you have an entire mercenary guild who's, has some hand in your future and in your fate. So that's big.
And I don't think I quite took in everything while having the dinner with Miss Ruby and accepting the quest. It was a little awkward during the dinner, but
you didn't even know what was going to happen if you didn't do it.
No, but 9 days left, and we were just like, oh, we're going to have dinner with them? We'll see what happens. I honestly didn't fully expect that, but I'm glad it happened.
I think it was kind of a throwaway line that I kind of took as a stab, but it was when I said, like, remember when Remdale was useful? Because in the negative sessions, like, we were lost without him. Like, he was...
So lost.
We couldn't do anything. Like, he would be like, I could throw together a healer's kit, but, like, it didn't do... Like, mechanically didn't do anything.
It's bad.
I just talked our way mostly into trouble, not out of it.
To be honest, I just gave you money.
And then he but, like, we genuinely were, like, useless without him. And then now on the flip side... Unless somebody comes within punching range, he's useless. Like, hate to say it, but like we can both hit things from like across the arena. Like we can light things on fire before they even come anywhere close to him.
Well, we'll see if that comes true in the future sessions, or if we do find some use for Rendell.
Yeah. As far as like Jethro's, I guess change, it's like non-existent, really.
Yeah.
It's because Jethro. I mean, he's always been like big mouth. Doing the whole snake oil salesman, like we've harped on that to death, and so now it's just like, voice comes to him, talks, does a thing, and it's like, okay, I'm just gonna keep doing what I've been doing, but better. Kind of like you fought, but better. Now like I talk, but better.
I feel like the big change is the opportunity.
Oh yeah, the other thing is like before, like it was all a lie. Like I was like, oh, donate and like listen to me and you'll go to like this great paradise. But now like I've had this voice, I've had this taste of power, and it's like I know for a fact something else is out there. It's kind of like like I'm chasing my next high. It's like it used to be like, oh, I got all these people flocking to me, this is the best thing. But now like there's something out there that like wants to give me power. I'm going after it. Like whatever I have to do, I'm gonna do it. And I think it's a big change when like the first time we were in Bastion, like you kind of had a struggle a little bit. Not with Thunderfoot, that's a whole other story, but like when it came to like us having to do things, like we struggled the first time in Bastion, like bad. Yeah. And then we go back and it's like, okay, yeah, it definitely works. Like and that was a good for us, like a measuring rod where we're like the first time we were here, we had it rough. We come back and just breeze through the city, like we take charge here. Off the governor, like nobody's business, walk out of there scot-free, give a speech, convince the whole city to follow us, like we're killing it. First time we were there, not so. I ended up in jail. So that's how that went.
Dominic, how about you?
Interestingly enough, I think Dominic's change is probably the subtlest, probably the least from anyone, even less so than him. I think I said it in the last episode. Dominic doesn't even think this is his magic. He's just channeling. Like, nothing's really changed about Dominic. Like, yeah, he can do more stuff, but I think that's why he's being so slow with it. Like, this is a responsibility. You have to be respectful with it. And there's a lot in the teachings of Avaya, my goddess, that we may or may not go into. But it's really themed around duality, feast and famine, and light and dark. And I think very much right now he's kind of treating this, it feels like one big test. religious people, something happens, everything revolves around my God, right? So he's very much like, I don't know where we're going with this, but Avaya is doing something, so let's find the right answer, let's play along, let's find the key, let's prove that I'm worthy of this power that you're letting me channel. And he's just trying to do it correct, and he's just trying to honor, honestly. So he's probably like the least exciting character right now, but I think I'm still waiting for a moment to where it clicks in his brain that like this isn't going away, this is yours, this is the wife now. And we'll see if that happens later on. But for now, he's still just very
Yeah. Well, that moment when Dominic brings down sacred fire from the sky and burns somebody is going to be really. If that happens, it's going to be a huge. I mean, you've basically been letting it all build up until something does happen. So
I haven't used a single domain spell. I have like 2 domain spells that are really cool. I have a lot of things, but I was like, he wouldn't do it right now. There's just no reason. So we'll see if it comes up.
Dominic and Jethro are like the definition of like forgiveness and permission, where it's like he's like, God, man, please use your powers to like do things, and I'm like, they'll forgive me later. What do you guys want to do?
You mean respect and debauchery?
There's lots of ways to put it.
Yeah.
Potato, tomato.
That's right. All right, guys. Well, that's all the questions I have for you today. For our viewers out there, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you see, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like the page. Please comment on this video or any of the other videos if you have things that you want to say. We love our community and all of our viewers. Thanks so much for being with us today, and we will see you next time on Fate Awakens.
Woo!